What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another podcast on the channel. I think this is actually the first podcast of 2020. It has been probably 3 months since I did the last one, so I'm not even sure what number this is. But today we are joined by my good friend Ark. How are you doing, man?
Yes, hello. Well, thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. It is quite early right now, so I'm a little bit tired, but very, very keen to get stuck into it. Now, for those who don't know you, give a bit of an explanation about what you do, both in terms of content as well as sort of outside of the content as well.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm Ark3ros, as you just said. 19 years old. And well, what I do in Battlefront is pretty much take photographies, post them online on both Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Some people like making videos. I just like combining my love for pictures as well as my love for Star Wars, and then make pictures out of Star Wars pretty much.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. It's for those who haven't seen Ark's work, it's like very, very high quality stuff. Probably up there with some of the best in the community. So you definitely, especially the growth you've sort of made over the last, I don't know, year or so. It's been pretty crazy.
You.
So in terms of the actual, I guess you would call that virtual photography, wouldn't you? That's probably the best way to describe it. How would you actually describe it compared to, say, normal photography? What's the main differences?
I think on a lot of levels it's comparable, because for example, lighting is just as important, framing is just as important. Now the difference, obviously, you're in a virtual environment, and what's cool about that is that you can really just tweak everything as you want without having to spend like thousands of dollars on a great recording device or on lighting or anything. So you really just have a much larger freedom, in my opinion, for pretty much no price at all, which you wouldn't have in real life. So that's what I like about it. I'd say most people know about it, just probably don't know like what's involved in taking virtual photographies. But like for sure, everyone in the Battlefront community has seen, for example, cinematic captures work, maybe just in YouTuber thumbnails, but everyone's like aware that it's a thing to have screenshots in game in one way or another. So yeah, that's pretty much how I would describe it.
Yeah, that is a good point. It's something that everyone would have seen, but not everyone probably knows that it's a thing, really. Like it's in all, like essentially all thumbnails are involving it in some way, and like you said,
everyone knows about it. I
stuff
think
like
just
that.
Probably not actively.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other stuff that goes in with like the cinematics and stuff, which is still, I mean, I guess that's more cinematography, but it's still in a way photography. It's the same sort of,
yeah, exactly, sure.
You know, the same programs and stuff that you use to do it. So it's actually a pretty common thing. It's essentially, it's probably more common than actual content, to be honest. But it's just probably a word that a lot of people haven't really heard. So I thought I'd get you to explain that, and it probably makes a lot more sense to a lot of those people out there. Now, just quickly before we get any further into the podcast, guys, I have decided that I'm going to start getting sponsors for both my stream highlights and these podcasts, and we'll just be keeping it to those two series only, so there won't be any sponsors on hero guides or any other videos like that, only the podcast and the stream highlights. I have to give a big thank you to Surfshark VPN, who are sponsoring today's podcast and helping support the channel. For those who don't know what a VPN is, it's essentially a really helpful little tool that can keep all of your browsing secure, so your accounts can't be hacked and no one can track your browsing or anything like that. But it also has some other really awesome features as well, especially with things such as online shopping or even getting a better Netflix library, which I'll show you guys on screen. So here you can see I'm on Netflix, and this is the Aussie version, obviously, which I'm not going to lie, doesn't have very much to watch. Now, if I search The Walking Dead, for example, you can see it doesn't show up because quite simply it's not on the Aussie version. Now, if I use Surfshark to log into another server, let's just go with, say, Las Vegas. Now, it's pretty much pretending that I'm accessing Netflix from America, and so now you can see when I just refresh the page after only about 10 seconds, bang, The Walking Dead shows up, and obviously that's just one small example that does also relate to all you Americans, because there's stuff on the UK version that the USA can't access either, and this works regardless of what country you're in. Not only that, but you can actually buy certain things like tickets for a flight or plenty of other different things, and when you're logged in from different countries, often the prices will actually be cheaper, so that is yet another feature to Surfshark VPN. It works across any device, whether it be a computer, smartphone, or even your PS4 or Xbox One, and it can be used by an unlimited amount of devices all at once, which is something that no other VPN on the market can offer. Now, if you guys are interested in checking it out, there's a link down at the top of the description that will take you to the right place, or you can simply use code SAMMY at the checkout, and this will actually give you a whopping 83% off and 1 month free as well, taking it to I think $1.99 a month, which is insane for what you get, and it has a 30-day money back guarantee if you don't happen to like it. Make sure to go and check that out, guys, and support the people who are helping support my channel. And once again, a big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. But anyway, let's get back into the podcast. Now, moving on, how long have you actually been doing the virtual photography?
I think I started like back in August of 2018. Yeah, back then it was really just like having no idea what I was doing and taking really ugly and stupid stuff. But yeah, really like getting into the virtual photography community has been since January of 2019. That's when I gave myself the goal to take pictures every day in a way to improve efficiently and to really just get into the Battlefront community more. And yeah, taking daily captures is what I've been doing for 6 months pretty much, from January till June of 2019, sorry. And yeah, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I actually remember that conversation that we had. It was like, it might have been the end of 2018, like late December, and I remember we were talking, and you were saying that you wanted to get, become a little bit more active.
Yeah.
I assume we were already friends at that point. And yeah, you said that you wanted to get into it a lot more, and then yeah, it was crazy to see all through last year, like the clear improvements that you made. You pretty much like put me to shame in terms of how quickly you were just improving from basic stuff to like then getting really into the editing and stuff, and it really does show a lot. So,
oh, thank you. I think that's the upside of producing content on a daily basis. You're so focused on it that you make improvements really quickly, whether it's YouTube or just photography or anything else in life. That's probably why I wanted to do it on a daily basis. Now, since July of last year, I've decided not to do it, pretty much because it ended up taking way more time than it usually in the beginning took me. I think when I started, I would probably put like 10 minutes into making one shot. And the more you improve, and obviously the more time it takes to just have it exactly the way you want, and then the post-production and a few other things. Not trying to say it takes forever, but I think all in all now it takes me about 1 hour or maybe 2 hours for certain shots if they're more ambitious. And yeah, after a certain you just can't afford to put 1 hour every single day into taking pictures.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Like the improvement's obviously great, but then yeah, you have to sort of figure out how to give up certain, like you said, not so much every day. You got to do it every couple of days instead, because yeah, it does kind of take over eventually.
Well, what I found to be the upside of not doing it daily is that I feel like I've made more progress between every shot, because when you do it on a daily basis, you pretty much have no time to take a step back and just like reflect on what you've just done and how you can improve and which direction you want to take. And now, for example, I took the time to learn a few post-processing softwares or just in-game rendering stuff, like Reshade, for example. And I feel like, yeah, by taking a step back and just reflecting on what you're doing and how you can improve, that can actually help doing it better as well. So all in all, I don't think it's a bad thing to to not post pictures daily online.
Yeah, it's probably a good place to start, and then like you said, once you get to that point where you're you need to sort of make bigger improvements, it probably is a good thing to step back, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I feel at least.
Now, there are a lot of misconceptions with virtual photography. It's a lot of people think that, like you said, it is just a 5-10 minute thing. It's just a simple screenshot and that's it. What would you say is the most common thing that people get wrong about the virtual photography?
Well, probably like you just said, the 5-10 minutes thing. It's really, happens a lot. I mean, it's technically not wrong, because taking a screenshot of your screen or anything in game, it can really just be a 1 or 2 minutes thing. It's just at a certain point, if you really want to make a decent looking screenshot, that's where it kind of takes time, and probably more than people would expect. And to me, that's pretty much the difference between a screenshot and a capture or a virtual photography, as we like to call it. It gives probably a better idea of the effort that goes into it. It's not a simple pressing on a button thing. It's more like, you actually thought about this and how you can improve it and how you can make it look good. And so that's why I like to call it either a capture or a virtual photography, pretty much. So yeah, the 5-10 minutes thing, that's the most annoying part.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't consider myself a photographer, but I do obviously take shots for my own thumbnails, and I don't put nearly as much time and effort into it as all you guys do. And even some people probably think that my thumbnails are just a quick 1 minute thing, and so I can understand what it's like for you guys who probably put in at least twice the amount of time for some of those big captures. It's always been something that I've noticed that I kind of feel for some of you guys, because everyone's just like, oh, this is a real easy thing to do, when knowing what it's actually like, it's actually not very easy. I shouldn't say it's hard. It's not like it's a super hard thing to do.
I do feel like it's easy. It's just it's time draining, pretty much, in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
You think you're just going to take, for example, a capture of Darth Vader, and then you end up thinking like, oh well, it could look better if I do it on the Death Star, and then you go like, okay, but maybe that pose is better, and then, oh no, in the end I prefer that one, and then okay, but now his lightsaber doesn't look good, or the reflections aren't great, or there's not enough light here, and you just end up trying so many things that in the end, just for one screenshot, it takes quite some time. It's definitely not hard though. I don't think it's hard.
Yeah, it's probably not I probably shouldn't describe it as hard. It's more just like I wouldn't even say tedious. More just like more time consuming than people probably think.
Right?
Because I'm the same with that. I'll go to take a thumbnail capture and I'll have an idea in my head, and I'll be like, oh, all right, I'll just get, like you said, I'll get Darth Vader on the Death Star and I'll get him in this pose. And then when I go to do it, it doesn't look as good as I thought. So then I've got to find another pose or find a different part of the map or better lighting or whatever. And it ends up going from thinking it will take 5 to 10 minutes to an hour and a half later, I'm still sitting there taking the capture, and it's sometimes it's an endless pit.
Sure.
Now this kind of touches on that last part, but what would you say is the hardest part of creating captures?
I'd say reflecting on your own work, in a way, because it can be really hard, at least, to be your own judge, and to know from yourself, like, now I'm doing great, now this looks great, or now I'm doing something totally ugly that I just momentarily think looks great, but in the end we'll realize it doesn't. Especially when you begin, I believe, because that's most likely when you feel like you're doing great, and for your level, for your current knowledge, you probably are. But like when I look back now on what I did a year ago, I think like, oh wait, how the hell could that be my favorite shot at the time? How could I ever think that looks great? And that's probably like something every content creator online, be it photography, be it YouTube videos or anything, can relate to. But especially when you have to make aesthetic decisions about framing, about lighting, about post-production, and you might think like that filter looks great, and in the end, now for example a year later, looking back at some shots, I just think, what the hell was I doing? How did I ever feel like this was a good idea to do?
Yeah, it's sometimes even hard to look back that far and just be like, what the hell was that? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Same for me with either thumbnails or just the videos in general. Sometimes it's, at the time I thought it was great. I was like, oh, this is a really good video, and then someone will comment on it like a year later, and I'll just happen to watch the start of it. I'm like, what the hell is this? So it's exactly the same with captions.
What I feel like also about that aspect, and that's both for pictures online, so captures and virtual photography, but also for YouTubers, is taking into consideration like the public appreciation, you know, how well a video is doing for you, for example, on YouTube, or for me, how many likes that one shot will get compared to another one, because that might be a good indicator of when you're doing something good, and at other times it might just be totally not make sense pretty much.
Yeah.
On YouTube, it's the same. I mean, clickbait just works better than something that's been well written, but with an ugly thumbnail or an attractive title. And then just self-reflecting and choosing what was the best between the two, like the one you like more yourself, but that people online notice less, or the one that people online are totally crazy about, but that you think, that looks pretty basic. That can be a tough decision as well.
Yeah, that's something that I actually struggle with every single week, is trying to figure out whether I should do stuff that just I would like and don't care about what everyone else thinks, or whether you do want to make the stuff that you think other people will like, even if you don't like it as much. And that's the same thing applies, like you said, to captures. It's sometimes you'll put you might upload a capture and you don't think it's that great, but then it gets like the most likes you've ever gotten. So you think, oh, well, maybe people think it's really good. So then maybe you start doing, you know, a similar style to that, and then after 6 months you realize, oh, well, I just don't think this is as good as it was, but people seem to be liking it, so I kept doing it. And then that's the hard decision, whether you go with, you know, the interaction, or whether you go with what you think is better.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, in fact, I think my capture that's had the most likes and most appreciation that I've ever done online is one I remember that I was hesitating to post. I was like, okay, am I really going to post this? I don't think it looks that great, but I really need to post something today, because that was in the time where I was still doing the daily captures thing. I was like, okay, I really don't have anything else to post, so I'll just post this for today. And yeah, it ended up getting like, I don't remember, I think 10,000 likes or something, which was, I felt like was totally ridiculous for a shot that I didn't even feel that great about at the time.
Yeah, it's pretty odd when that happens, isn't it? Now, moving on to the next one, and this is kind of like almost a touchy subject in a way, but for those who don't know, there's been a few instances of some sort of drama between a few YouTubers and a few virtual photographers. The main one I'm thinking of is SWBF and FinFet, and I think this happened twice. I'm pretty sure it happened twice, where SWBF used two of Finn's captures, and he didn't give him credit.
All right.
Where do you stand on that, in terms of like someone using your capture without credit, and that whole situation? What's your take on that?
I think because like what FinFet used as an argument during the drama was pretty much like fair use and copyright stuff, which makes sense. But in the end, like when I take captures of a game, my shots belong to the owners of the game in a way, because I'm in no way like the owner of a picture that I took on somebody else's work. So I don't really think that's a valid argument. Now, I do think when any YouTuber uses any thumbnail art from someone else online, that should always be credited, just as a matter of respect. Whether it's a Battlefront picture, whether it's something they found online, doesn't matter. Just I feel like that's just a respectful thing to do. pretty much.
Yeah, you pretty much summed up my thoughts there as well. I was kind of like on the fence with it a little bit in terms of Finn didn't do anything wrong. He just took a capture and
that's
someone
the thing.
used it. So it wasn't like it was he didn't do anything wrong. But
exactly.
At the same time, it's not like Swanee did something illegal either.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's probably where the misconception comes from. Both sides didn't do anything really wrong. It's just yeah.
It's mostly the way that I think Swanee went about it with, like, it's not that hard to give credit. Do you know what I mean? It's like 10 seconds in the description. It takes not very long at all. And he made a good point, I remember, on Twitter that, like, he didn't know. He just went on Google Images and it showed up. And to be completely honest, I've done that before, where I just need something for a thumbnail, and maybe it's something coming to the game that we don't have in the game, so I'll just use Google Images. So that is a good point. But the fact that he gets called out about it and then doesn't change it, that's kind of dumb in my opinion. That's where I kind of sided with Finn on that whole thing, because it was like, it's just like, it doesn't take that long to fix it. If someone, let's just say it happened to me, perfect example, let's just say you and I weren't friends and then I accidentally took one of your captures and you were like, oh, you got to give me credit, that's my photo. I would simply just be like, even if I didn't care that much, I'd probably just be like, okay, well, I'll just put it in the description. Like, it's not that hard to do. So it's a tough one. I'm kind of like on the fence with it. No parties are really in the wrong, but at the end of the day, it's not like, you kind of got to side with Finn on that type of drama, simply because he didn't do anything wrong and Swanee could have corrected it. Plus the way he acts afterwards, he's just like, I don't care about it and stuff, which is which is that wasn't the best way to act about it.
Sure. Well, actually, I think the FinFET Swanee drama is like the best example for it, because both those people have a large following, and are pretty much faces in the Battlefront community, if I can say so. But like having people repost your work online without crediting, that's mainstream for me and for so many else creators, at least photographers. But I don't think that's with bad intentions most of the time. I've just come to the conclusion pretty much that when I ever see my shots being reposted on for example Instagram by someone else who just doesn't write my name, well, in a certain way I can appreciate it, because the guy just thought it looked good and wanted to share it with his following and didn't think that I could dislike not having my name written under it. So in the end, I figure most people, when they repost your work, it's because they want to share something they like. So it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, for sure. I think also because of the fact that it was Swanee and he's very he's involved in a lot of drama. Yeah, controversial is the perfect word. I think that probably played into it a lot too. For example, if it was me, like, I don't think Finn would have had a huge, complaint about it. But I think because it was Swanee, it's probably just the perfect storm.
It's really like, it's one side of the Battlefront community against the other one,
Yeah,
it's two really different audiences, and then having those put one against the other it's ridiculous in a way. For something so petty and so small to fix and so unimportant in the end. But yeah, exactly.
Now moving on, and this is kind of a loaded question, but what are your plans / goals for the future of your your Instagram and your Twitter?
Well, I like to broaden my horizons, if I can say so, because until now I've pretty much only been doing photography, virtual photography, so pretty much just pictures, static stuff. And I like to try and do maybe more cinematics, just more a wider variety of content, pretty much. So whether it's like a cinematic, as I just said, whether it's something else, I don't know. I would just like to try and do different stuff that I haven't tried yet. That looks good to me.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely something that in the capture community, other than really cinematic captures, not that many people do both. It's kind of like you either do cinematics or you do captures.
Yeah.
He's really
Exactly.
the only one that is like at the top, the highest quality of both. So there's really not that many people who do that.
Absolutely.
Which is, it's definitely something that I think will end up being really good for you. Is that, it's just more. It's a nice change up, I guess, is the best way to describe it. It's a nice. Say I'm following you, it's nice to see one day you post a capture and then 2 days later you post a cool cinematic and stuff. It's probably just a nice bit of variety for followers and stuff like that.
Well, that's pretty much why I've been thinking to like set up a YouTube channel maybe, to pretty much post both just captures but also cinematics. And the cool thing about cinematics is that, well, YouTubers can also use it, Let's say you or anyone else, any other Battlefront YouTuber wants to make an Ewok guide. Well, you just made one, but anyone else in the community, and well, they just don't have footage of Ewoks, like short cinematics, and they could use it. Then I would be glad if those people can use my content to pretty much help make their own, improve that quality. So
yeah, that's actually a really good idea. It's also very sort of selfless, helping other people as well as yourself too. So I definitely I
just like to see content creators interacting with one another, That's the cool thing about taking pictures. It's often used as a thumbnail art. So seeing one YouTube video, for example, with maybe 100,000 views, that's got like my little screenshot in the thumbnail. That's just cool to think that a YouTuber used it and that it helps him to grow his own channel, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, this is something that probably not everyone's going to know, but for those who know about Battlefront Duels, Ark is actually the guy behind Duels. He was the guy who made it, essentially. I remember it would have been April or May.
Yeah, I think it's about
2019.
A year ago.
Yeah, nearly a year ago now. Ark came to me to ask me to make a trailer. That was really all it was at the start. You just wanted to make a trailer and sort of set up this little server. And so I made the trailer. I had a lot of fun making it. And after I finished it, I remember messaging you and being like, would you be keen to have me on board? Because it just sounded like a really good idea at the time.
You were excited. Yeah, sure.
I was very, very interested in it. And eventually we set it all up. And it's pretty crazy how big it got really quickly.
Great, yeah.
It's not like it's some huge, it's not like it's some massive thing, but we expected to get like 50 members, and within a week I think we had 1,000. So we were not prepared for it whatsoever, and it was a crazy thing to just go from some small little idea to bang, you have 1,000 members.
Yeah, in about 24 hours as well.
Yeah,
that was so unexpected.
It was just insane. I remember just the messages back and forth, like, holy shit, we had not prepared for this. But anyway, getting back to the start of that, what initially gave you the idea to start Battlefront Duels?
To be honest, man, I wish I had a thrilling story to tell, but I think I really just woke up one day and was like, hey, we don't have private matches. Wouldn't it be cool to host our own private matches? And that's really just how it came to life. I remember reaching out to a bunch of Battlefront content creators, amongst which you were one. And yeah, then we just set it up. You made the trailer. It did really well, as you just said. And that's how the whole initiative just came to life, pretty much.
It happened really quick. I remember you messaged me, and it was probably set up within like a week. It didn't really take that long. It was pretty crazy.
I was really excited about it.
I probably should. Yeah, I remember when you first messaged me, and I was like, wow, that's actually a really cool idea. And it's pretty much one of those things that you get so excited about that it just kind of takes over for a while. So I think that's why it happened so quick. I guess I should probably step back. First of all, how would you, like, for those who don't know what Duels is, maybe explain a quick summary of what Battlefront Duels is.
Yeah. Well, the whole idea behind it is to pretty much be able to host private matches and just 1v1s, pretty much duels, in an organized way on Battlefront 2. Obviously, we don't have private matches, so that's pretty much a shame. But as much as I'd like to have them, in the meanwhile, we just figured we could do our own private matches. So yeah, that's why we launched Duels. And what do we do? Well, as I just said, we have 1v1s and stuff. Last week we hosted a tournament on both PC, PS4 and Xbox. And that's pretty much what we do. We try to have like a competitive aspect to the game without having private matches. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass, to be honest. But overall, it's great fun to be able to, well, really just host tournaments and stuff and have that many people who are trusting us and who also want to be competing against one another. So
yeah, that's a really good summary. Now, and this we had kind of already answered this, but did you ever expect it to be the size that it currently is? Because I remember when you first messaged me, it was kind of like I remember you were saying that you had just been sort of playing some private matches with you and a few mates, and you just kind of wanted to set it up. Did you ever think that it would get to this size? Not that it's some massive entity, but it's gotten a lot bigger than at least I think it was gonna anyway.
Yeah, well, no, totally not, obviously. I was hoping we could just maybe, as you'd said earlier, bring 50 members on board, and then every now and then host 2v2s or 4v4s in Hero Showdown or Heroes vs Villains. And yeah, suddenly we just had 1,000 members on board and we didn't know what to do with them. So that was a surprising time, but it turned out well, to be honest. I'm really happy with how far we've come with Duels, and I'm grateful for the staff team we have on board there. We have a bunch of hosts, a bunch of moderators, and they're just as excited about Battlefront Duels as we are. So that's cool to have. So yeah, we try to host an event every 2 weeks. We have a wide variety of things we have going on. Tournaments, obviously, but also more casual events. I think we had planned for this week or next week to have Heroes vs Villains, but without any sword cards. So yeah, we try to do stuff that you wouldn't usually be doing on the game.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of took over in terms of, we started it with the idea of just doing like you said, 4v4s and even 1v1s and stuff like that, but it's almost become a place where we're trying to just give a place to play the game differently. Even things like we did the BB races and stuff like that. It's almost turned into the duel stuff and just essentially just having fun. It's really become more of a fun place to be for the community, which is good to see. And then it's also obviously still got that the competitive aspect to it. So
right,
yeah, like you said, I'm really happy with how sort of far it's come, and it's only really getting better as it goes. We're sort of still learning. There's still a lot of stuff we're figuring out each event, but yeah, it's crazy to see. It's crazy that it's been almost a year now. Actually, I did not think of that. It's been almost a year, and yeah, the amount of growth that it's made since the start has been pretty crazy.
Exactly. And that we're able to make everyone have fun on Battlefront 2 in a way they wouldn't usually do, experience the game differently, pretty much. That's what's really fun about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Now, referring back to what you said about how sometimes it's a pain in the ass, what would you say is the hardest part about running duels? And I feel like I might know the answer to this one, but I'll let you answer.
I feel there's some, I don't know, it's hard to say. One hard part about running it is that we have a wide variety of players who each have their own conception of what they want to do. Some are really competitive, others are just in for a good time, as I just said. And then having all those things work together, all those players, all those ambitions, that can be really hard, because you have some competitive players who, for example, aren't happy to be playing against newer players, and then you have the opposite. You have newer players who just want to have a good time, and the competitive players are too competitive for them. So trying to find the right balance between doing casual stuff and doing competitive stuff can be hard. But yeah, all in all, I think we found a pretty good balance about that. Trying to split it 50-50, having a few casual events and then having a tournament every once in a while. And yeah, it's working great so far, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty much like along the same lines as what I would have answered. Honestly, it's very it's a harder thing to run than I think anyone in there really knows. Even the mods, I feel like they probably don't understand how many hours we put into the, leading up to tournaments. When it's a casual event, it's not really that hard. It's mainly just, make a quick post about it and then play, essentially. But when it's a tournament, like leading up to the tournament we just did, which did the first one that failed because the EA servers are down. Leading up to that, I honestly think I did close to 30 hours of work that week.
You did crazy.
Which is it's nearly a full-time job. I think 38 hours is what a full-time job is considered. So it's definitely more crazy than I think people sort of understand. And that for me, that's probably one of the hardest parts is
putting in the time.
Yeah, and also just trying to let people understand that, because I think a lot of people, and definitely not everyone, most of the people in there are really supportive of it, but there's often times when it's some people will get really frustrated about the way things are run, and which is fair enough. Like I said, we're still learning, so it's not like it's anyone else's fault or anything like that, but there's times when it's hard to explain how much work actually goes into it. And if something, for example, the tournament, perfect example, it just died because literally the servers went down as soon as the tournament started. It was the worst timing ever. And it happened before. It happened with Discord. Literally the tournament before that, I think. Oh, there might have been one between, but one of the tournaments before that, I woke up at 4 a.m. to start this tournament, and literally 3 minutes into it, Discord went down. Yeah. So
for the rest of the
there was no way to communicate. Yeah, it was down for 5 or 6 hours. So I couldn't even I couldn't even message the server and be like, hey, it's cancelled because we can't communicate. So everyone was just sitting around what the hell's going on? And then 5 hours later, I've got to be oh, sorry guys, Discord went down. So yeah, there's a lot of little there's a lot of things that are hard about it, but like you said, I think the positives outweigh that by a lot. I do really enjoy sort of putting in the time, even though we don't really gain anything from it. It is just really fun to help provide that for people, provide a place where they can have a bit of fun and play sort of differently than how they usually play.
Well, I think probably most your audience, your subscribers, don't know about it, but as you just said, you put probably 30 hours into preparing that first tournament. And yeah, it's just so much stuff to try and do at the same time. First, the brainstorming, how are we going to do it, discussing the rules and how it's just going to proceed. Then you made 2 videos, one to explain matchmaking, one to explain rules, which you had to write, you had to record, you had to edit, you had to post. The frequent announcements to either announce the tournament, to announce it's starting soon and stuff, and then the at the moment itself. I think last week I spent 5 hours just on Discord, just to update all the brackets and well, all the matches and coordinating all the players who were trying to match up. So it's definitely really time consuming, but in the end it's so gratifying. It's so so fun to see all those players coming together and having fun on the game.
Yeah, exactly. That for me is what makes it worth it, is just after a tournament when everyone's had a bit of fun, even though some people might not have as much fun. Maybe a team gets knocked out really early and they're not happy or whatever, but the majority of people seem to have fun, and that's more than enough for me, honestly. Yeah. Now the next question, which is actually the last question, and this we literally kind of were just touching on that, but maybe I'll change the question because we pretty much just answered it. But
I see.
Other than the providing a place for people to play, what would you say is your favourite part about running duels?
Well, I think being able to play private matches myself from time to time, because in the end that's what really got Duels off the ground. That's the idea behind it. I love to play against opponents that I know are skilled and know what they're doing and know their star cards and their play styles, and just to like feel the thrill again of being matched up against someone who you know is maybe better than you, maybe not. You actually don't know that. So having to play really carefully and to think about what you're going to do and to play strategically on a game like Battlefront 2, who very often doesn't provide, I feel. That's what I really like about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same for me. If I had to answer the question, it's like I used to play a lot of games. I'm not going to say I played them competitively, but I played them in a competitive way is probably the best way to say it. I didn't play it like esports or something, but I always played a lot of games really like what's a perfect example, like games like Battlefield or even Call of Duty to a degree, and even games like Rocket League. I played those games like really, trying to make my way up the ranks and trying to be competitive and stuff, just because it was fun. It's always fun to, play really tough matches and win and stuff like that. So because I haven't played a game like that for a long time, because I've been mostly playing Battlefront, which, like you said, doesn't really have a competitive aspect.
Yeah,
to
it doesn't offer that.
Yeah,
sure.
so that's probably one of my favorite parts too, is like when say we host a casual event and we actually get to host and play. It's really fun to have an actual really close battle with someone who's really good. That's definitely something that and that's something that I really wish we did have private matches for, or even a competitive game mode, like a 1v1 mode or something, which is I'm actually planning on making a video on that soon, because that's something that I really would love to see, like a leaderboards and stuff like that. But like you said, since they can't, since we don't have that, it's pretty cool that we can at least, to a degree, provide a place where people can do that.
Absolutely.
Well, that is going to do it for the questions today. I wanted to say a big thank you for coming on. This was very sort of short notice, literally right before I went to bed last night. I asked you if you wanted to come on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, man. It was great.
No worries. I will leave a link to both Ark's Twitter and Instagram down in the description. I will also leave a link to Battlefront Duels for anyone who is keen to join that. Like I said, we do fortnightly events, some casual, some more competitive, like the tournaments and stuff. And literally right after this, we are actually getting off the podcast to then have a chat about duels and more stuff that we're going to be doing in the future. So plenty of stuff on the way for that as well. So
come and join us.
All those links will... Yeah, absolutely. All of those links will be down in the description for those of you who want to check it out. But thank you again for coming on, man. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.